the Kremlin in 1997 to work as Yumashev's deputy chief of staff, promoted to chief of staff in 1999. Roman Abramovich, oil trader, who became Berezovsky's protégé and associate, once described by Alexander Korsakov, Yeltsin's security chief, as cashier to the Yeltsin family, a claim denied by Abramovich, later said to have a good relationship with Putin. Sergei Pugachev, Russian Orthodox banker who was a master of the Byzantine financing schemes of Yeltsin's Kremlin, and then became known as Putin's banker too. Co-founder of Mezprombank, he straddled the worlds of the family and the Siloviki. The Yeltsin-era oligarch who crossed Putin's men. Mikhail Khodorkovsky, former member of the Communist Youth League, who became one of Russia's first and most successful businessmen of the Perestroika era and the 1990s. The mobsters, foot soldiers for the KGB. St. Petersburg. Ilya Traba, former Soviet submariner who became a black market antiques trader in the Perestroika years, and then an intermediary between Putin's security services and the Tambov organized crime group, controlling St. Petersburg's most strategic assets, the seaport and the oil terminal. Vladimir Kumarin, Tambov organized crime boss who lost an arm in an assassination attempt and became known as St. Petersburg's night governor, joining in business with Putin's men, most notably with Ilya Traba. Moscow. Semyon Mogilevich, former wrestler, known as the Brainy Don, who at the end of the 80s became banker to the leaders of Russia's most powerful organized crime groups, including the Solntsevskaya, funneling cash into the West and setting up a criminal empire of drugs and arms trafficking of his own. Recruited in the 70s by the KGB, he was the criminal arm of the Russian state. Sergei Mikhailov, alleged head of the Solntsevskaya organized crime group, Moscow's most powerful, with close ties to many of the KGB-connected businessmen who later cultivated connections with New York property mogul Donald Trump. Russian organized crime leaders, their members, their associates are moving into Western Europe. They are purchasing property, they are establishing bank accounts, they're establishing companies, they're weaving themselves into the fabric of society. And by the time that Europe develops an awareness, it's going to be too late. Former FBI Special Agent Bob Levinson. I want to warn Americans. As a people, you are very naive about Russia and its intentions. You believe because the Soviet Union no longer exists, Russia now is your friend. It isn't. And I can show you how the SVR is trying to destroy the US even today, and even more than the KGB did during the Cold War. Sergei Tretyakov, former colonel in Russian Foreign Intelligence, the SVR, stationed in New York. Prologue. Moscow rules. It was late in the evening in May 2015, and Sergei Pugachev was flicking through an old family photo album he'd found from 13 years ago or more.